Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I pulled out the Simple Stories Say Cheese Halloween collection, as well as this page map sketch from February of 2023. Now, when I said that I pulled out the collection, I actually only have paper for this collection. I think that I went in with a couple of friends who picked up like the 25 pack from Tuesday morning a long time ago. And we were all able to find like the different packs, and then we divided up the paper. So I only have a few of the patterns, but I have a lot of those patterns. So this is one of those layouts that I didn't worry about gutting the paper or trying to save it because I have several of the same sheets. These photos are actually from Legoland. And even though I am using the Disney themed paper, I'm going to stay away from the paper that reads Disney and go with more of just the Halloween vibe. On the far left-hand side, I have that green paper that has all of the eyes on it. And in the center of this layout has the teal paper with the polka dots. Having all of the colors on that paper really ties everything together. The sketch does call for a centerpiece, and I thought that this black cardstock was perfect to offset all of the fun, bright colors from this collection. I had printed these photos a while ago, but never got around to scrapbooking them. And then when I was looking at this layout, I really didn't like the configuration of the photos, so I decided to reprint them. And I didn't take very good notes on my spreadsheet. As you can see here, I am trying to figure out what past Lisa was thinking in regards to where to put these photos. I think I did eventually figure it out that I was going to use a flip flap, and I was also going to use one of these 3x4 cards. But for the left-hand side of the layout, I don't know why I printed one photo in portrait and one in landscape, and I am eventually going to reprint that. The only 4x6 card that went with this layout, because it's really just the kids at Legoland during the Halloween time, was Happy Halloween. However, these photos are from September. When I went to check on the date, I realized that even though there's Halloween decorations, they were the end of September, which we all know that people start celebrating holidays earlier and earlier every year. So even though these photos are from September, I still went with the Halloween theme, and I actually played it up in my journaling and talked about the fact that only in Florida are we in swimsuits during Halloween time. That 4x6 card is black, and the paper that I wanted to put it on was black, so that didn't work for me. I looked through the limited paper that I had and couldn't really find anything that I wanted, and this is where the stash diving starts. I'm gonna pull out these envelopes that I got from Amazon. I'll link them below for you guys. I originally purchased these to hold my Doodlebug Petite prints, but then realized that I could add all of the B-side paper that I have to them as well, and so I had to go pick up additional ones. I eventually pulled out this 8x8 sheet of paper that comes from the Echo Park Dots and Stripes collection. The colors are a little different, but close enough that it works really well as a background piece for that Happy Halloween, and it separates those two black pieces of paper. Once I get the 4x6 card adhered to that purple paper, I'm going to move into figuring out how large I wanted that black piece of cardstock. I used my fingernails to mark it and then my paper trimmer to cut it out. Then I'm going to start to get the background paper down. Like I said, there's no gutting, no saving paper in this one. I don't have any of the embellishments that match this, and maybe in the future I might pull down the digital collection and do a hybrid layout. Let me know in the comments below if that's something that you guys want me to try. I wanted to challenge myself to do a little bit of stash diving, which is not something that I do very often. Nicole loves stash diving and she does such a great job with it. I prefer to use a collection, have everything match, and not have to stress or think about pulling in other papers. Of course, I do have them, but I don't feel like I have a lot. I did decide that I needed another pop of color, specifically orange. So I went back to those envelopes and pulled out the orange paper and ultimately decided on another Dots and Stripes from Echo Park, this time using the tone on tone stripes. Echo Park often has these on sale when they do their warehouse sale, and that's usually when I pick them up because I do like that tone-on-tone B-side paper. One side is usually pretty good. The other one, in true Echo Park fashion, is usually very large. Like the other side of this tone-on-tone stripe paper is really large orange and white stripes. So I will probably only use this side. Unfortunately, once I get that pattern paper down, I am ultimately going to cover most of it up with my photos. This particular bag here just holds like random papers, embellishments, anything that maybe I have had in a collection before and I am finished with that collection, but there's maybe 1 or 2 pieces of paper, the 3x4 cards, the stickers, things like that, that I knew that I could use on another layout, and I keep that all together in that bag. I needed to find a piece of paper that would work for my flip flap. I'm going to add one over on the far right hand side, and this bat paper worked really well with the colors of this collection. It just gives it a little bit more of a Halloween vibe, almost matching the photo that's over on the far left with the kids in that background of that spooky graveyard. Now that I have the configuration for the right hand side of the layout, I'm going to go ahead and put my photos as well as the cards down. I get all the photos to the background down, and then I start working on the flip flap. I added the photo and the paper together, and then just using my bone folder to make a crease in the flip flap so I know exactly where to have it on my layout. Now that the right hand side of the layout is done, I'm going to start working on the left hand side. As I'm doing that, let me just talk a little bit about these photos. Like I said, these photos are at Legoland, and they were taken September 20th of 2020. What you might notice is that both of the boys are wearing swimsuits. At this time, we did have an annual pass to Legoland. It is really close to our house. I would say 20 minutes. Their water park is a really nice water park. A lot of times with our annual pass, we would go specifically to go to the water park. On this day, we grabbed lunch and then rode Merlin's Challenge, which is a Lego-based spinny ride. And then we headed straight back into the water park area. Unfortunately, I don't have any photos of the kids in the water park area because they were off playing in the water, but I still wanted to document this day. I think that the background paper that I ended up using gives a nod to the Halloween vibe, but it also plays into the whimsical of being at Legoland, as well as just the kids having fun before we head over to the water park. I did end up reprinting the photo of the boys. I did have 2. One was portrait and one was landscape. So I'm not even sure why I originally printed it at the landscape mode, because the sketch calls for it to be portrait. I'm going to use my T-square ruler to line up the photos with the 4x6 card that's over on the far right-hand side. And then I'm going to bring out that orange tone-on-tone stripe paper from Echo Park again, cutting out my border and adding it to the far left-hand side to match the paper that's on the right-hand side. I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive, and once I get the strip down, then I'm going to pull out my T-square ruler and X-Acto knife to trim it off. I went back to my bag of Halloween decorations and I found these bats. They did have some pop dots on the back of them, but they were chipboard and I felt like they were thick enough. So I did remove the pop dots and just laid them flat to the layout. On one of the Echo Park sticker sheets, it had a banner that said spooky. I thought the colors worked really well with this collection, so I did decide to put those pieces on some fun foam, and I'm going to add it to the top part of the layout. I am all over the place with this layout. Next, I decided to pull out some of my dies because I wanted to add something to that bat paper that's going to be in my flip flap. I wasn't sure which one of these dies was going to work well, so I went ahead and cut out all 3 of them with the black cardstock so that I could see what it would look like on the bat paper. I also had this 3x4 card that I wanted to be in the center of that black paper. The 3x4 card says, "Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron bubble." I thought that that saying worked well with the 2 boys, and it was just a fun addition. I did trim the 3x4 card down pretty close to the edge, and I also decided to use my corner rounder on it to match the black cardstock. I tried out all 3 pieces multiple times, but ultimately ended up with this one. And I think that it just works so well with the bat paper and then adding the saying on top of it. The 3x4 card also has a bat on it, and it's actually the same bat because both of these come from an Echo Park collection. I added the card and the photo to my flip flap and then went back to my title to continue working through that. Pulling out more stash from my collection, I have these thickers that are actually made of foam, and I found the word fun. My title is going to be Spooky Fun. I feel like that plays into the Halloween, but it also kind of gives a nod to the fact that we're in September. Once I got the word fun down, I then added the spooky banner. I don't think that I'm very good at stash diving, but this layout does come together really well, and I was able to use a lot of my Halloween embellishments that are just kind of hanging out in that collection with the random Halloween pieces. Some of these have been hanging out in my collection for years. I think those bats I've had probably since mid-2000s. I remember getting those pieces. I think I picked it up either at like Hobby Lobby, Joann's, or Michael's. And it was just the fact that they were like a chipboard piece, so they were different than the flat stickers that were mainly available back in the mid-2000s. Of course, I'm going to do some stitching on this layout. I used my favorite border punch that already had the holes, so I just needed to poke the holes in the back of the paper, and I'm going to do that for both sides of the layout. I thought that instead of a tone on tone, I would do a purple to match that card that's over on the right hand side, and the purple and orange just look so Halloween to me. The contrast that it provides was just an extra fun touch to this layout. I did do a majority of the stitching offline, but then slowed the video down here so that you could see all of that amazing detail. Now that the stitching is done, I can move on to adding some embellishments. Again, I went stash diving and I found this thicker sheet that I don't think that I have used a whole lot of pieces from. I actually have 2 here. There's one that is like a shiny gold, and then there's another one that has sparkly gold and black pieces on it. I thought about adding that gold bat, but then took it off because I had the gold on the right and I didn't want to mix those 2 different types of gold. So I just stuck with some of the black pieces. This black glittery pumpkin was so fun, and I added it on top of my photo where there was some dead space. The wall in the photo ended up making the perfect cutout for the eyes and mouth. At this point, I decided that it was time to go ahead and get some of the pieces down, so I did use some liquid adhesive to make sure that they were sticking down because some of these are really, really old. I went back to the sticker sheet and I found just some smaller embellishment pieces. I pulled out some florals. They're really small, and I'm okay with using flowers on a boy layout. I found several Halloween animals to include spiders and cats, and they worked really well with the bats that were already on the layout. And then what Halloween layout isn't complete without some candy pieces? So I did find a couple of those and added those to the embellishment clusters around the layout as well. Since I had some candy pieces on the layout, I thought it would be nice to also have some candy pieces on the 4x6 card. So I did add that right next to the saying. These particular Boo stickers I have had probably since early 2000s, and it is something that I just can't part with. They're so stinking cute, and I'm so glad that I was finally able to get one on a layout. I did add the ghost as well as the word Boo up to the left hand side. I then went back into my Halloween collection and I started to look through some of the collections that I own. I have this really old collection from close to my heart that is Halloween themed. It's actually more like monster themed. There are some phrase saying that says wild things and boo. And I really need to challenge myself to get those types of collections used up. They're one of those things that made it through the cut last year when I did the big purge. So I still want to use it. I just don't have the perfect photos for it. So maybe I should just dig around and see what I can find. I then pulled out my color boxes in purple, orange, and green, the perfect Halloween combination, and added some enamel dots as well as some enamel hearts around my layout. And then of course I had to add a green enamel dot as well as an orange enamel heart to that 4x6 card that's going to go in the flip flap. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I did do my journaling offline, and it says, even though it was still September, Legoland was already decked out for Halloween. We stopped for lunch, snapped a photo with the spooky backdrop, and took a ride on Merlin's Challenge before heading back to the water park for the rest of the day. Only in Florida can you enjoy spooky decorations and a splash in the same afternoon. And then I have the date of September 20th, 2020. All right, if you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.